Yo, what's going on, everyone? Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and today we're checking out Splatterhouse, released in 2010 for Xbox 360 and PS3.
Released in 2010, this was developed and published by Namco Bandai Games. Until 2009, this game was in development hell and was being developed by Bottle Rocket Studios. Then it went under, Namco Bandai bought it, kind of finished up the product, and put it out. So we'll get to how well that fared in a little bit. This game basically takes the story of the first one, expands on it, takes a bunch of set pieces we loved, and it's a reboot. What do you want from us?
Alright, so let's take a look at these graphics. Like Jim said, this game was in developmental hell, and since it was supposed to be released even earlier than 2009, and it kept having setbacks, they didn't really seem to upgrade the graphics that much. If this was a opening title for the Xbox 360 and PS3, we probably would have liked it a lot more. We all know the graphic capabilities of those systems are much better than what this game's offering. It's not to say it's not an interesting look. It almost borrows from the Borderland kind of hand-drawn style, but there's just so much blood, and so much of the screen is either red or just dark. The colors aren't really there, and half the time, because the screen is so dark, you can't even see the details in the monsters until you get an up-close kill. And eventually, after you do enough of these goddamn kill cutscenes, you're gonna get tired of them. Also, it should be noted that Rick does show a whole lot of the damage taken, and sometimes he'll even lose a limb until you suck up some more blood. With too many enemies on the screen, and when sometimes you try and do those quick kills, the frame rate in this game is constantly dropping. It's just more of an annoyance than anything, but either way, it's not terrible. It could have just done so much more. So as you see from our scores, we both gave it a 6. I'm going to add 2 beers just because the mind-numbingly annoying part of getting a frame rate drop and then getting hit cheaply, that shit's annoying.
The sound, luckily in this game, is everything you'll want from a Splatterhouse game, especially if you're a fan of the series. The game has a lot of creepy, well-produced range tracks, which are always good and original. But besides that, there's a large amount of licensed heavy death metal songs. And they kick in during some of the more combat-heavy sequences. And you know what? They fit the job well. This game is squishy, it's gory, it just sounds disgusting. It's everything you want from a Splatterhouse game, and it just sounds as brutal as it tries to be. One thing to note about this game is that the voice acting is fucking excellent. Just the dialogue and the way it was presented between Rick and the Terror Mask is so damn well done. The voice actors for Rick, for Jenny, for Dr. West, they all pull off their jobs great. And the Terror Mask being done by Jim Cummings, it was just a perfect fit. He's a legendary voice actor, so you expect nothing less, and he knocks it out of the park, even for a title that isn't as well received as this is. We don't really have that many complaints, so we both gave it 8s. While maybe not the most dynamic or perfect music package, it gets the job done. And as far as beer goes, yeah, you know what? I'm not adding any.
The control in this game is exactly what you expect from these newer gen hack and slash beat 'em ups that are out. You can fight in 360 degrees, you control the camera. There's nothing really wrong with it. The biggest problem me and Jim had is just nothing seemed real intuitive with this game, if that makes any sense. The inputs, they were fine. Once you got used to the control, it was okay. But man, oh man, starting off, it just took forever to really get comfortable with it. I can't explain it. It's one of those situations you really have to play for yourself, especially if you've played a lot of more modern hack and slash, then you're probably used to a certain formula. This game says, nah, fuck that. I'm going to take it and do it something completely different with it. So as you see, we both gave it 8s. Honestly, had the control just been a little bit more intuitive, it probably could have got 10s. I'm only going to add 1 beer just for the annoyance of the first time I played this game, I died 6 times in the opening room because I couldn't figure out what the fuck I was doing.
The gameplay. Before I get into this, I have to say, this game does not try to be mature. This game is purposefully very adolescent, both in its humor, both in what it does. So don't go bitching about how it's all misogynistic and blah blah blah, because people are gonna bitch, but that's what the game's going for. With that being said, this game, it actually has a decent amount going on for it. First, I want to expand on what Brian said, because you need to give this game a chance. If you just pop it in, start playing for maybe an hour or two, you are going to hate it. You are going to get killed. You're going to get unfairly killed. you're not going to know what to do because the game doesn't do a great job of telling you. You're going to get pounced on by enemies, and you're not going to know the right ways to kill them. You're not even going to know where to jump at certain times, or even how to grab an enemy, because certain mechanics they don't tell you until you're 3 levels into the game, and you've already done it just by experimenting. But when you give the game a chance, it actually becomes very fun. And the combat system, while certainly not perfect, actually has a good feel to it. And it harkens back to, say, the Bayonettas, the God of Wars, the Devil May Crys, the Onimushas. And I'm not going to say it does it as well as any of those do, but it's still a solid package. The game goes between third person and the side-scrolling throwbacks like in the original Splatterhouse games. The camera can be a bit annoying. You'll be fighting it a lot, and you'll be constantly playing with the right stick just to try and center it on yourself the way you want. There's a lot of weapons to pick up in this game, which is always fun. And it even has these hilarious touches where some enemies are going to chop your limbs off right away. But you can pick up your own limbs and use it as a weapon until your limbs grow back. The monster / berserker mode from the Splatterhouse 3 comes back, and that's awesome. And you have the gauge again, which fills up this time with how much blood you collect. And blood's basically the currency. So the more brutal kills you do, the more quick time event kills that are in the game you do, you get more blood. There's a lot of things to unlock in this game, and you can basically edit Rick to play as the kind of character that you want him to be. The storyline, it's actually really well developed, and it's really good, and we enjoyed it a lot, surprisingly. It's one of the strongest points of the game. And I already talked about how good the voice acting is, so I don't need to say that again. There's collectibles in this game, and here's where that maturity thing comes in, because collectibles are pictures of your girlfriend Jenny, and about half of them are naked.
Titties!
Yep. Sweet, luscious titties. There's also these record players around a good chunk of the levels, which also expand on the story from Dr. West's perspective, who's the villain of the game. If you're not a fan of Splatterhouse, you're gonna rip it apart probably. But it has so many throwbacks to the old games. So many of the old enemies come back in just new and fresh ways. So many of the old bosses come back in new and fresh ways. If you're a fan of the series, it's really a love letter to you, because it does everything that you want to see in a remake, and it takes the best parts from each game and it throws it all together. Before I get to the scores, I have to address, the load times are horrific. These are some of the worst load times that you will see in the 7th generation. Outside of that, this is a game that we just had so much damn fun with, but I once again have to say, give it a chance. Brian gave it an 8, I gave it a 7. It's extremely flawed, but at the end of the day, just like the rest of the series, it's so fun.
So Jim just captured a lot of the shit I was about to say, so I'll try and keep this as short as I can. The originality in this game, did it offer a whole lot of new mechanics to hack and slash? Nope. Did it offer a whole lot of new story mode elements or just things we haven't seen? Not really. But there are those key things, like finding nude pictures of your girlfriends. Sure, this is nowhere near the first video game to do that. But I'll tell you one thing, me and Jim searched just a little bit harder to find that left corner piece of some of those pictures.
I wanted more boobies!
But other than that, as you'll see from our scores, I gave it a 7, Jim gave it a 5, and I'll tell you why I gave it a 7. How many other games do you know where you can actually rip the asshole out of a monster? That is freaking hilarious. Never saw that before, so it gets some points for really unique kills. As far as beer requirement meter is concerned, I'll actually add 2 beers because the sheer amount of blood you're going to see, you just need a nice buzz on to laugh along with just how ridiculous this game is.
Replayability. I'm going to keep this short. You have all the unlockables in the game. You have all 3 of the original games that you can unlock. So that gives you, again, hours upon hours of entertainment. There's all the story elements that you can go around and collect and find, and some of them are hidden decently well, so it might take you a couple tries to find them. The game's hard. We both had to put it on easy mode just to beat it the first time. Besides that, in order to fully unlock every single trait for your character, it takes more than one playthrough. So, if you want Rick to be as awesome as he can be, you're going to have to play the game at least twice. And that's when the game and the combat really fully fleshes itself out. So, with all that being said, we both gave it 10s. There's so much shit to do in this game. It's annoying sometimes, but it's worth it in the long run to try and experience it all. As far as beer goes, you don't really need any beer for this. There's so much here.
So overall, if anyone is still really watching this video, understand, we know that the public opinion of this game is dog shit. It doesn't look as good as it should. It doesn't play as good as it should, yada, yada, yada. But like Jim mentioned, if you're a true fan of Splatterhouse, you'll look past those things. You'll play long enough to get into the deeper combat, and you'll also unlock the earlier games, which just that alone makes buying this game well worth it. And especially because you could pick this shit up for like $5. We can't say enough about the game itself, nowhere near perfect. But the disc itself, the sheer amount of content, and guess what? As compared to most games today, you don't have to pay for all the extra content. It actually just gets unlocked by playing the goddamn game. So it's something we really appreciate, and we just had straight fun with it. Like we said, it's very flawed, but we looked past all those. We both gave it 7s, and when you round up our score, it comes to a 7.5. We know most other game review sites, like I said, they took a shit on this game. We appreciated what it did. As far as the beer pairing is concerned, we're going to go back to the Springhouse Brewery. We're going to suggest going with Satan's Bake Sale, because just like this game, the idea of a mint chocolate chip stout might turn a lot of people off, and some people might not like it as much. But for Jim and I, we loved it. So if you actually have an appreciation for a beer like this, you'll enjoy it. And it's strong enough that you should probably only get yourself 1 or 2 of the big bottles while playing this game. As always, guys, thanks for checking out this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you give us a thumbs up, leave some comments, or better yet, why not subscribe? Till next time, guys, cheers.